You're listening to Feed Your Mind. So most of you never thought you could be mind programmed, but the thing is, that picture of the globe Earth that you've been told is the place where you live your whole life is not what you were told. And in this video, I will prove that. If you look at the small print next to any picture or photograph of the globe Earth, you will see NASA admit in small print how it's a satellite composite of images stitched together. That means they're taking data of multiple images and combining it and shaping it into a globe Earth. And that goes for the video as well. There's no authentic video of the Earth. Guess what? All the pictures of the planets in the solar system are not real either. Pretty much every single picture you have received from NASA has been a computer-generated image, an artist rendering, a CGI image, composite data of imagery put together. The one thing they have in common is that they're not real. We got right here, it's NASA's Blue Marble collection, brought to you by National Geographic, and this is all official pictures from NASA. So in 2015, this is the first shot that was released since 1972. And so we must ask ourselves, why did it take 43 years for NASA to release a second full sunlit picture of the Earth? Well, the answer is flat earthers were the ones to point this out between 2012 and 2014. And before flat earthers pointed this out, nobody ever realized that there was only one official picture of the Earth. And so as a response, a second full sunlit picture of the Earth was released in 2015 because there really was no excuse for there to be one official picture of the Earth. And so now apparently there's a picture of the Earth being taken every 10 minutes or so, but really all those pictures are also composite data compiled into an image as well. Now it says right here, this was from the Discover, which took the first complete photo of Earth's sunlit face in 43 years since 1972, and it was taken from 1 million miles away. So you're saying you sent us this footage from 1 million miles away? Yet if you go into the basement with your Wi-Fi or your cell phone, you can barely get a signal. And so between 1972 and 2015, there was actually several pictures of the Earth released by NASA. And so let me prove to you that all of those pictures were not real. And so as you see right here, here's some more images of the Earth that we all thought was real. But if you find the small print, NASA will admit to you in small captions what these pictures actually are. You can see it right here, and it says, many similar images released between 1972 and 2015 are composites of pictures taken at different times. So that means they're not real. Let's go to the next picture. We got here in 2002, NASA stitched together satellite data to produce a new, more detailed and more accurately colored blue marble. And so in this small print, NASA is telling you that this is their more advanced CGI image. They're saying that this image is more accurately produced than previous images. So that takes all the guesswork out of it if you're still doubting that globe Earth pictures are manipulated. So let's go to the fifth picture. Now this picture is just ridiculous to even consider to believe. Look at this. So this picture right here is part of the NASA's official Blue Marble collection, the next generation, and it's a series of photos of Earth pieced together once again from satellite data from 2004. So this is not real. So let's go to the sixth picture, and this one is a photo of the lights twinkling from space, compiled from satellite data collected from 2012. Once again, the key word is from satellite data, and went through a Photoshop process. So you have not seen a picture of the Earth. And then we got here, NASA produced this more recent picture of the blue marble by integrating, once again, satellite data from 2012. But most people wouldn't even realize that if it's not pointed out to you that this is not a real picture. This picture is not real. Most people don't realize that. But once it's brought out to you, all the information and facts are here. This is an official photograph by NASA. You don't have any pictures. They're all fraudulent. And this one proves that NASA has been misleading you. Now, some of you might be confused by the term satellite data, but really, if you want to know more about satellites, you can check out my playlist, Satellites Are Not What You Were Told. I have a few videos about satellites and what they really are, but that's a whole nother subject. But let's get back to the pictures of the Earth. Earth can't be a perfect circle. Neil deGrasse Tyson already said it's pear-shaped.
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it kind of flattens out. Yeah. It gets wider in the middle. And so Earth, throughout its life, even when it formed, it was spinning. And it got a little wider at the equator than it does at the poles. So it's not actually a sphere, it's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good way. It's like pear-shaped, 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 pear-shaped.
And if you think about it, this irregular shaped Earth actually makes much more sense than the perfectly shaped globe Earth that they've been showing us, because in a Big Bang accident, there's no way you're going to have perfect shapes like that popping up out of a big accident. It would make much more sense if they were showing us pictures like what we see here. So now when you go back and look at all of the pictures that you assumed were actual pictures of the Earth, but now you know for sure that they're not, you can definitely spot out all of the flaws, because you can see how the oceans are different colors in all of the pictures, and you can also see how the continents are different sizes. But because the indoctrination was so strong, nobody ever really noticed this until fairly recently. Let's listen to this NPR News researcher come to realize that these pictures were fake for the very first time.
So last week, NASA released the latest in the Blue Marble series, and most people have seen this image. It's of Earth, and they put out a new one. And when I first looked at it, I thought, oh, that's a beautiful photograph.
Right. We all do, right?
That would be wrong.
Snap with your Polaroid. That would be wrong.
It is not a photograph at all.
No kidding.
It is a composite of data sets from a bunch of different instruments on satellites that are, circling the globe. And they're taking data of phytoplankton content in the sea, and that gives you what color the ocean is going to be. And then there's another instrument that's looking at the light coming off of the land, and that gives you another layer. So that's sort of how the older blue marbles were made. The first, well, maybe we should step back here. In 1968, the first one came out. It was Apollo 8, and it was Earthrise. But that, we hadn't really thought about the Earth as that whole single hole in space until 1968, 1972, when Apollo 17 snapped the full disk image.
And then Carl Sagan came out with his pale blue dot.
Right.
And that cemented the whole idea.
Right. I think that was sort of the capstone on it. Until 2002, when Rob Simon, who's one of the NASA people I talked to this week, created this sort of digital 2.0 version of the blue marble. And that's what I was talking about before, where you have these different layers of data that are then translated into an image. Mm-hmm. And one of the funny things about this, I thought, was that in that version anyway, the instrument, the satellite Terra, when they're taking data, there are these gaps between the ribbons of sort of data it's getting as it's collecting.
Right.
So you have like a little hole of data, basically, between each ribbon. So they had to Photoshop in some clouds and stuff, which really seemed to bother him. But
of course.
I mean, why? Of course it would.
Right.
But what are you going to do? So this is the new image that came out this week, which is just a snapshot. It's not a full globe. Mm. Doesn't have any gaps. So I talked to Gene Feldman about how you might use science like this, and that you can hear about that in the video too. But the good news is that the next blue marble, should there be one, will not be photoshopped. Not photoshopped.
We won't need to do that. No need to fill in the gaps. If NASA's still got money and they're taking more pictures, we'll have another blue marble. So this is blue marble like 2.0. I mean,
this one is like 3.0, but yeah, it's like Earth eye candy.
It's beautiful.
It's really beautiful stuff.
It is gorgeous.
In 1972, we saw our home in a new way. Apollo 17 astronauts snapped this picture.
It gave people the first look at their home planet as a single entity.
Last week, scientists at NASA released this. The shot is compiled from data from NASA's VEERS instrument, which orbits the Earth about every 100 minutes, taking measurements of light coming off the planet. That can be translated into ribbons of imagery like this, and then into one of these. And this is just the latest in NASA's Earth from Space album, which may be one of the most mind-expanding collections of images in human history. Then in 2002, Blue Marble 2.0. NASA's Rob Simon made this. Simon's job is...
It's primarily taking data and making pictures out of it.
That's what this is. A composite of data sets from several different instruments translated into a picture.
So we actually had to take clouds out.
They stashed the clouds for later, went onto the ocean. That came from an instrument that measures phytoplankton in the sea.
Where it was low, I colored it dark blue because they're low mostly in mid-oceans. And then where it's a little bit higher, it was like a little bit brighter green.
Then add the clouds back in.
There's a small problem with it because there's a very slight gap in between each orbit.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then?
There was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space. But I've looked at these images over and over again, trying to sort of get the essence of it. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Those of you who think this technical difficulty was planned and think I'm scamming you, go do it for yourself. Because you're going to find the exact same thing. I got nothing to hide here. This is live on the air, okay? I'm going to zoom in on the Earth in Photoshop. Can you see the Earth? To image, adjust, levels, and I'm going to bring the levels over here. And I'm going to bring the levels up. Uh-oh. What is that? Why is there a square box around the Earth allegedly taken from the scientists on the moon in Apollo 17? And people wonder why I don't trust NASA.
So some of you are wondering how they could fake the first 1972 blue marble picture because it was before CGI and Photoshop. Well, there's a couple theories out there. Some are saying that it's a photorealistic painting. Another way they could fake it is through photo manipulation. Now, with the budget of NASA, they had plenty of money to figure out how to make a picture into a circle shape. They even got caught around the same time that picture came out, manipulating a globe Earth picture, as I'll show you right now. Let's play the clip.
And finally, the element that seals their fate. All the footage of Apollo 11 requested from NASA over a 5-year period. One gem was discovered just before the completion of this documentary. An old reel received by mistake. It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr. and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for nearly an hour in living color, with exceptionally clear behind-the-scenes audio of conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later. Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from any other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top, which together form 2 different sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it.
Blue gas, see white bands of major cloud formations across the Earth. And
This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert. Finally, the iris is opened up to see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July, and the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July, and then the 20th, and the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. Furthermore, if they genuinely went to the moon, why would they be faking any part of it? Why this trickery with the window? By faking being halfway to the moon, it becomes apparent that they did so because they could not even go.
Check out my Earth is Stranger Than You Were Told playlist for much more information. I'll leave the link in the comment section and the description box. Simply enter your email address at feedyourmind1.com. That way I can send you some cool news briefs throughout the week. It's completely free. If you support this channel, chip in $1 to $5 and you can join my VIP room for early releases, free gifts, and much more. Links in the comment section and the description box. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and click your notification bell. Include the title of your favorite video and you're automatically entered into a chance to win a free gift from my Feed Your Mind pop-up shop. This has been another episode of Feed Your Mind. Thank you for tuning in, signing off.